Okay. Hey everyone, welcome. This is Sports and Mimosa. I'm Erin Fulbright and this is Meredith Laborde. Sports and Mimosa, if you guys have been following us, you know it's a community of women who love sports and want to talk about it without all the stats and that whole ESPN mess, although I love ESPN, but that's not for everyone. Or you just want to learn more about the game and be able to talk with your significant other who's a sports fan, or keep up with it at work, or when hot topics are being talked about in conversations, you're not left out. So that's what Sports and Mimosa is. So we're going to always have a glass of mimosa. I'm drinking kombucha today because I am doing a detox, but Meredith got the champagne going on for us. So yeah, that's what Sports and Mimosa is. We're hoping to come with this podcast weekly. I'm saying hoping because schedules get crazy, but we will be here at least twice a month, I would say, because
I think that's a solid promise.
Yeah, because we love football. We love all sports, but football right now just kicked off last week. But I'm going to let Meredith introduce herself. She's also one of our contributor writers. So you've seen a couple of, if you follow us, get our emails. She had a couple of articles out. And so we're going to have more content coming out through Sports and Mimosa on the webpage as we dive deeper and work together on bringing some fun sports news to you guys. So
thank you, Erin. Like she said, my name is Meredith Laborde, and I'm an avid sports fan. I've been a sports fan since I was probably out of the womb. I grew up in Tiger Stadium. I think I got my first basketball when I was 2 years old. And I was basically playing sports till I could walk. I studied sports broadcasting in college. I did not have the passion for it like I thought, but I did have the passion for writing. So I do get to write thankfully, Erin gave me this opportunity to use that passion for writing and my passion for sports to conjoin. I do have a couple of pieces, and if you want to hear about anything in particular, please just send me suggestions, because I definitely want to produce content that people want to read or interested in learning. I always want to welcome women into the sports world. It's a kind of hard community to find, but once we find each other, we really tend to stick together. I'm a really big Peyton Manning and Eli Manning fan, so you'll probably see a lot of that in my writing. I try to bring up one of them, if not both of them, in everything I write. And I'm an avid anti-Tom Brady fan. Even though he is great, I will never deny that, but I have my thoughts about him, and I will not be quiet about that. I also really like NBA. I like PGA, which is in some interesting drama, which we'll get to later.
So that's golf.
Yes.
If you don't know PGA, golf for a Tiger.
Yes, and so and I'm a big baseball fan, so I kind of cover all the bases, and I did recently start watching tennis because of Serena, which we'll talk about later. But yes, I'm happy to be here. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, and like Erin said, we just kind of crossed paths, and it's been pretty much bliss since. So I'm excited to get into it.
So let's give them a little of how we've met. So we're both in Junior League of Baton Rouge here in Baton Rouge. We're both in Baton Rouge. I'm originally from California. A little bit about me before we get into that. I am the Saints and Raiders fans. Yes, I can have two teams. People say I can't, but I can. Love everything else. Lakers, Dodgers, everything LA I love. So that's who I'm going to be repping.
It'll be interesting later this year.
Yes. But we met because we were at an event. It was a women's leadership conference, and Erin Andrews, if you don't know, is a sports reporter, analytic host. She has her own clothing line now with the NFL shop, I believe it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Aware.
Yeah. So we both went and attended that, and then we had a meeting for something else, and we were just like, oh, we both love Erin Andrews, and oh, we love sports. And so it just like went from there. And so we were like, I was like, well, I have Sports and Mimosa. And so she was like, well, I'll write. And I was like, yeah. And so loved her writing. And then we were like, we need to talk about this stuff. Because you can't just write all this down because no one's going to read it all. So that's how that got started and how we met. And like she said, we just want to bring more women into the into the sports world without you having to be that fanatic, and we'll bring you all of the boring stuff, or finding out the boring stuff, but making it drama and fun and interesting. So
Yes, because I do think that that's, you know, a lot of girls tend to not be interested in it,
right.
but a lot of leagues, whether it's the NFL or the NBA or PGA and at MLB, there's a lot of sport, a lot of drama, and
Yeah.
just like the Real Housewives, it's juicy drama. And I think that if women were more aware of that, they'd be
Yeah.
as into it as we are.
Yeah. And I think they have, some of these athletes have some really touching stories. I know when I watch College Game Day for football, and they tell those stories of that's like how I become fans of those players, and then I follow them on. But I think there's that side of too, where you can connect with these folks, that they are regular folks, but they have trauma just like us, which we'll also get into with some of these players, with Meredith's favorite person, Tom. But first, so the NFL season officially kicked off with the regular season games last Thursday. So we had a full weekend, just ended yesterday with Monday Night Football. I do want to give a shout out to everyone that is doing fantasy football with Cali Rouge, which is a part of, it's our Cali Rouge League. It's a part of Sports and Mimosa. So we're trying to get more women to join with that. It's free to join. But I lost because I put in Matt Stafford instead of Geno Smith. And I was like so pissed that Geno had a great game. So we'll get into that too. But shout out to those ladies that are a part of that. But we're going to run through some of our weekend winners. So Thursday kicked off with the Bills and the Super Bowl champs, which are the Rams. The Bills are playing them in LA and kick their butts. So the Bills are predicted, or have been said to be Super Bowl
Contenders, yeah.
Contenders, yeah. So it was pretty interesting to see that, and then that they whooped the Rams like they did in their own house. Josh Allen was really great, and it was good to see someone new. And then Diggs.
Well, he came out to prove, like
yeah.
Again, just to fill everyone in, and we'll probably talk about it later. Last year, the Bills and Josh Allen were a part of a very controversial playoff. They big timeout rules, playing against also Super Bowl contenders, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It came down to overtimes, and it was really kind of the new faces of the NFL with Mahomes and Josh Allen battling with each other. I think the last 5 minutes of that game, I still get chills thinking about it, because it was like, I think there was a tweet that said, oh no, they gave Patrick too much time. Oh no, they gave Josh too much time. Oh no, they gave Patrick. Oh, they gave
no
Josh.
one wanted
and it
to
just
stop.
came down to literally a field goal. And it was, so anyway, so Josh went home, and plot twist, the Chiefs ended up losing the next week to a very similar ending. But Josh Allen, I think, had something to prove, and he really came out this year, this week, and I think they're definitely going to be the ones to watch this year.
Yeah,
among
they
others.
have some good receivers on their teams too. I do have one of their receivers on my fantasy.
What was the one who the Rams guy like bashed, and then like all of a sudden just got like super beat by him? Was it Diggs? I'm gonna pull up my phone real quick, but there was some drama.
Diggs went off, and Isaac, I think he's my see, this is why fantasy football helps you learn these players, because we don't know everyone, but
I just know that there was, again, because of drama, and I can always find it. There was a certain wide receiver, I think, that their defender talked bad about him, and all of a sudden
was it Isaiah McKenzie? That's my receiver.
I'm scrolling Instagram, not gonna lie. Because again, that's where it gets spicy. It was just basically he talked some smack, and then the guy scored like 2 touchdowns. Or maybe did he touch? Who did he talk?
Did score twice. So
wait, I think he said something about, oh gosh, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna come back to it.
But we're gonna come back to that. I'm gonna finish going through while you look for that. I'm gonna finish going through our winners of the week.
It was Diggs versus Ramsey. That's who it was.
Ramsey, okay. Jalen Ramsey, yes. Yeah, Diggs had 2. Diggs is awesome. He played the Saints when they played the Saints last year in the Superdome. They beat them, of course. But I was at that game, and just watching how he interacts with fans before games. See, this is when you get to know the guys and you'll love it even more. He was super cool. But so that kicked off, the Bills and the Rams kicked off on Thursday. So Sunday we had the Chargers beat the Raiders. Raiders, one of my team, they lost. I was sad about that, 24-19. But at least an LA team won in SoFi. So that there you go. The Giants got a win 21-20 over the Titans. The Chiefs beat the Cardinals 44-21. Buccaneers, Tom Brady, beat the Cowboys 19-3. We're going to talk about that with Dax, who's a quarterback for the Cowboys. Saints came back. That was a great game. Came back from being down to beat the Falcons, which always seems to happen to the Falcons. But the Saints beat them 27-26. Yeah. The Steelers beat the Bengals in overtime, 23-20. We're going to talk about that with Joey. 49ers beat the Bears 19-10. Browns, they broke the Cleveland Browns. That's where Deshaun Watson plays. He didn't play.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. But they have had a losing streak within that first week. So they're like 0-16, and they had one tie game where they tied. But they broke that by beating the Panthers 26-24, which they went crazy.
It was Cade York, right? A former LSUer. I think because he kicked.
Yes.
The game and he won. So go Tigers.
Tigers had some good alums doing some good stuff this weekend. So they won, but plot twist there, which we'll talk about, is the Panthers' new quarterback is Baker Mayfield, who used to be with the Browns. So the Eagles beat the Lions 38-35. Ravens beat the Jets 24-9. Dolphins beat the Patriots 27. The Jaguars lost to the Commanders, which is Washington. Used to be the Redskins, 28-22. The Texans tied with the Colts. They tied 2020 in overtime. So when you get a tie in the NFL, that's when after the 10-minute overtime regulation or time limit is up, both teams haven't scored. So they just call it a tie. So that means you have half a win, half a loss within that league year. So when you see someone,
very fitting for those teams to do that, because I just feel like the last couple of years they just really haven't, either team, like either franchise, just have not had the best of years. And
so I guess it was a win for both, because at least
I know I'm like, oh, okay, you get mad, like I just think, like, just to see that those are the two teams that it happened with, I just kind of chuckled, because
we didn't really lose, I guess.
We're getting better.
Yeah. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers was pissed, lost to the Vikings 23-7. That was a good game though. And then Monday night, last night, we had another quarterback play his former team when the Broncos went to Seattle, but they lost 17-16, close game. Russell Wilson got booed when he came back into the stadium.
Can't wait to talk about that later, because
and he got beat by his former backup, which is Geno Smith, who I said was on my fantasy, and I didn't play him. Otherwise, I would have won.
Hate when that happens.
Yeah. So that is what kind of went down for the weekend. What are your predictions for this season? What are you looking forward to after seeing this first week?
I think I'm kind of really excited to kind of echo what I was saying about Josh Allen. I think that, I really am excited because, again, I grew up on the Manning versus Brady and the Breeze and the Phillip Rivers and Aaron Rodgers is still there. And the Brett Favre's, you just had these iconic players, and you only knew them as iconic. And now, because I'm getting older, I am getting to see these younger quarterbacks come into their own and to see the history making. So again, the Patrick Mahomes, and I mean, we knew he was great because he won the Super Bowl, but to see the Josh Allens come and start a season so strong, and to see, just last year, Joe Burrow going to the Super Bowl, his second season. And I mean, even though he had an off game this week, knowing Joe Burrow, because I know him personally.
No, all of Baton Rouge knows Joe Burrow. Okay.
I'm like, okay, well, Joe Burrow is never going to do that again. So he is not. And I think it's just an exciting time to see, because I don't think there's any I can't predict it. I mean, I think, we know for the first time it's possibly Tom Brady's quote unquote last season. And we'll talk about that later. But I'm excited to see this new coming, because I mean, like, even Matt Ryan in Indianapolis, like, I'm kind of excited to see if he can have a winning season, because we talked about, the Falcons have just been, they've been known to lose their leads, and now it shows no matter who their quarterback is, they'll lose their leads.
Yeah.
And I think
must just be a curse.
right. And I think I'm just excited, because I think that it's a whole new era. And I think we've been talking about it for a long time, but I feel like this is the final week, the first time where it was like, oh, like, I look at the Patriots playing the Steelers next week, and I'm like, oh, is Mac and Mitch Trubisky, like, are they gonna, like, I don't know how they're gonna play together. Like, this is like, oh, and again, I guess that's where it comes at, like, I knew how to study the stats, like all the ESPN analysts do. Maybe I would know more, but I think it's also the more fun route to just be like, oh, this is an unpredictable season. So,
and even when they give those stats and stuff, you never know what's going to happen. I think that's
I'm a big fan in underdogs. I'm a big fan. I will not put money. That's something that the readers need to know about me. I will never put money on sports, because side note, I was a big Eli Manning fan, and no one predicted that they were going to win the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 42. And I called it after week 16, and no one believed me. And I probably would have made a lot of money, because, but I don't put money on sports, because everything, you never know. I've seen too many things happen at the end of the 2-minute warning. And
last year, when you were just talking about the playoffs, like, the playoffs last year were like amazing. Like, they were the best, like, ever, because every game came down to almost a kicker, because they were going back and forth in halftime, not halftime, in overtime. And so it was like, well, damn. But I'm excited too. I think to see a new winner, even though I would love to see the Saints win, I was glad that the Rams won, just because it's LA. Well, after the Saints got out, of course. So then it was like, I'm gonna just go with the LA team. But to see some new blood, and I'm kind of liking the Bills organization. I kind of follow, like, who's in the front office too, and like, they're ran by a woman, part owner, a woman and stuff, and she's going through some health issues right now. But I just I like that, and I love those receivers on there. I think they're doing great, and Josh Allen really played well. Like, that was a really good game. So I'm excited for that too. Of course, I'm not going to say I want them to win. It would be nice to see someone else new, but
I think it's ready to see the
Raiders.
I'm calling for the Saints to win. I think Jameis, I'm excited.
I don't know, because he was a little.
But I still think we're a new team. I mean, we have a new coach. I still think things are.
But he's new, but not new.
But we have a new coach. We have to build that relationship,
Yeah. But he wasn't connecting like at first. Like, he came out after halftime, and it was like a whole
new person. But that's I have this theory that, like, that's just what the Saints do. I just feel like the Saints are gonna play whoever they're supposed to play hard, they're gonna do terrible. And whoever they're just like I feel like everyone who, like, they're supposed to be destined to win, like, they do terribly. But everyone who they're like, oh, there's no way they're gonna win, like, somehow they just, like, come out. And it's like, what? Like,
no, I had to take a nap on that second quarter, because I was getting mad, and then woke up, and then it got better. So it's like, that's my thing. I just have to turn off for a minute and then come back. But so I think this season's going to be interesting, because, again, there was a lot of good games, close games this weekend that you were like, what the heck, and a lot of teams that you thought were going to win that didn't. So let's jump into some of the standout games and players. We kind of said we're going to come back to some of the ones that when we ran through it. So let's start with Baker versus the Browns.
Oh gosh, I really think whoever's in charge of scheduling for the NFL has to be
because there was two teams.
And not just like casual trades. Like, there was stories behind these trades, and so to catch everyone up, Baker Mayfield used to play for the Cleveland Browns, and like I said, I don't like Baker. I think he whines. I just don't care for him. I think his attitude does not match his talent. but whatever. So to see him go through what he was going through was not didn't really faze me. Unfortunately, the situations concerning the Browns had to do with their former head quarterback, who they traded from the Texans, was Deshaun Watson. And if you are not familiar, he had at least 20 plus claims of sexual assault or harassment against him by mainly masseuse, female masseuse. And they, again, NFL is a organization ran by men, and I think that they are trying to get better. However, they kind of missed in a lot of areas with this trade. To catch you up to speed, I don't know how much, but Deshaun Watson was paid a lot of money. I think to be like, if not the highest paid, he's in the top 3 highest paid players.
Yeah. And he got that while the trials were still,
while everything
things were still going.
Yes. Yeah. And there have been a lot of appeals and everything. And it wasn't until recently that they had an appeal, and they finally fined him and gave him a stricter punishment. I think he's out 6 to 9 games. I don't know the full details, but I know that it's been very difficult as a female to watch and cheer for a certain team. Again, the Browns. It's just I think, I told Aaron before we filmed that as a female-led podcast, I thought it was important that we at least touch on it a little bit, because we want to, again, safe space. But this was hard to watch because, again, you don't really want to cheer for an organization that you're not quite sure how.
But then your hate for.
But I also really don't like Baker Mayfield. So
and to be fair, Deshaun was not playing. Not well, I guess. So
yes, because he finally got. He finally got punished, so he was not playing. So Baker still lost to them, and I'm really happy that he lost because I just, and again, if you're not familiar with Baker Mayfield, I just feel like he runs his mouth. He's not anyone to have the talent. Again, he's a Heisman winner. Yeah.
He was number 1 draft.
But I also feel like he's done nothing in the NFL, and you can blame it on the Browns. You can blame it on whatever you want. There was also some controversy with him and Odell Beckham, and Odell Beckham eventually went to the Rams and then won a Super Bowl. So it shows you that I don't think Odell was the problem.
Landry left too, yeah.
Yeah. So like I just don't think he's a good leader. I just think how he's handled things, I don't want to hold what he did to college against him, but just how he handled himself on the sidelines that one game, and you can Google it. I'm not going to talk about it on here because I don't want to give him that much time.
Yeah.
But I just think I don't think he's a great leader, and I think for him to go, and I do think, and I don't know, again, Carolina is a bigger team, building team, I feel like, but I just don't think he's a good leader. So I wasn't too sad to see that Cleveland Browns had a win. Again, it was without Deshaun Watson, so that made it a little bit easier. And it came down to an LSU player making the winning point. So
yeah, what's interesting about the Panthers that I haven't dug like deep into the Panthers. I'm not a fan of theirs, but like they didn't do good, obviously, with Baker this first game, but they weren't doing well when they brought Cam Newton back, who I love. So it's like, is there something else outside of the quarterback? They
haven't been doing well since their Super Bowl 50 appearance, and like even then it was all offense, and it was Cam. We saw how that Super Bowl played out.
I think it's a little bit more, but yes, we're glad that Baker kind of has to step off his high horse because he is a little.
And then he was so like, this wasn't the Super Bowl, and I just feel like I don't know.
Now
I studied
you say
that.
Right.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, stop, just.
So
we've talked enough about him.
Yeah. So while we're talking about that drama of a former quarterback that left with drama playing their former team, Russell Westbrook, that's basketball, guys. Russell Wilson, Sierra's boo, left Seattle, and that was kind of because he had wanted the trade. There was talks he was going to come to the Saints. That didn't happen.
He was going to go a lot of places.
Yeah, he was looking
because it's rumored that it's very interesting that he got booed, like we mentioned earlier, because he again, Seattle, it's been rumored that they were looking at Mahomes. They were looking
But
at
so
other
were the
quarterbacks while
Saints.
he was there.
Peyton Manning
So
said
yeah,
not Peyton Manning. Sean Payton said the Saints were looking at Mahomes too.
yeah. And so
But
I think he had every right to leave. I think I'm happy. I think John Elway is the general manager for the Broncos, which is where Russ went, and he does. He's a former quarterback, so I think he knows. He got Peyton Manning for whenever Peyton got the boot from Indy, and I don't remember what year. But so I think there was a lot. I gotta talk about this because as a former, I still root. They are kind of like one of my AFC picks for the Broncos. Russell Wilson is getting paid a lot of money. Like a lot of money. And then like he signed a deal earlier this summer. And then like a week or so ago, they added like an extension with more money. And to catch everyone up, this game was messy. It was messy, I think, on both sides, honestly, especially Denver, and it makes me sad. But so it came down to, it was down in the last 2 minutes, like they are so close to winning. Denver is so close to winning. And I'm like, oh, we got it. And for some reason, they just had a very difficult last drive. And it came down to 4th down and 5. So for those of you who aren't familiar with football, you get 4 downs and the 4th one is your last chance. And you have less than 2 minutes right now. And your quarterback, who is making more money than anyone else on that team, sends out the stupid kicker.
Like, that has been a lot talked through ESPN, like with all of the sports guys. Like, why did the coach though do that as well? Like, why was that done? I'm not going to.
First of all, they had like really bad time management. Yes, like they had bad time management. There was like a time where it was like you should have called the timeout like way earlier than what you needed. And then like I always have this theory that there should be at least like one woman on the sideline to be like common sense, but that was like a time where I unfortunately I couldn't watch it on cable, so I'm hitting it on my phone to like refresh, and I'm just assuming we're gonna drive. We're gonna like this is Russell Wilson. It's 4th down.
But why would you not?
2 minutes. Yes, and then I found out that McManus had to attempt like a 63-yard. That is so stupid to me, and I just think it's so like, what does that teach? Like, I just don't understand. Like what atmosphere that sets for your team. Like you're gonna pay this guy and McManus isn't making that big money. Like
all that kickers already have a lot of pressure.
That's how I feel. And I was really excited that we got to talk about this because I was like, he just literally like, if not last week or the week before, like it's a recent expansion to his bank account and the fact that they sent it. I don't know. And I think like Russell, I mean, he had a really, I mean, he's a Super Bowl winner. Like I don't know. I'm very curious to what's happening in the Broncos organization. And I understand, I don't want to be that person who's like, oh, like fire him like after the first week. I don't want to be that person, but I am very curious to see how this goes because I just think that sets a really interesting like tone that it's 4th and 5 with less than 2 minutes. Like, I mean, honestly, I don't even bring it up because it actually is one of my favorite Patriots versus Colts games. But like, even Belichick went for it on 4th and inches. Like,
but why would you not go
like you just go? And he didn't get it on 4th and 1, I should say. And it was
a 63-yard kick too. Like that's just too.
Yeah, I just think.
Speaking of kicks, there was a lot of like miss. If he was watching any of the other games,
right? That was a good vibe. Was it Mercury retrograde? Is that Mercury retrograde really just isn't good?
Yes, I felt bad for King, but every time, like it was 2 games I was watching that it went, and I like the Taco Bell commercial. I was like, because you can hear that in the TV. So if I had watched those other games and as a coach, I would not have gone for it.
No, my mom always said if she would have had a son, she like would not have wanted him to be a kicker. Like she just was like, I think that like I always think about the kickers' moms now because I'm just like I wonder if there's just
and so many that have that loss, and even in college football, like it's just like so heartbreaking because they're like you only have one job, which they do, but
like they're also like dealing with like 300-pound men like running at them, and I know that they get paid a lot of money to deal with that, but I'm always like, and honestly, I feel like Brandon McManus is probably thinking, you paid this guy this much money and
Why
I'm
am I
going out
coming
there
out
for
now?
63 yards.
Yeah, why am I coming out right now when he
Yeah.
can try one more time?
Exactly. Like we
He's
got
the
running backs.
greatest.
We have a running back. We got people. What's going on?
Yeah, he doesn't have to throw. He can.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't
That's
have to
just how I
pass
feel.
it.
Yes.
But yeah,
that's how I
so
feel about that.
Yeah, and that was sad. So,
But Gino
yeah,
had
I
a
was
great
all
game.
excited.
I think and again, he's the new person that we're like, and again, Gino's had like a lot of history. I know he's with I think it was with the Giants for a bit. He's been everywhere.
And they were saying people wrote him off, and his line
didn't write
was
that.
like, I didn't write that. Yes.
And I like it when they have like little quips like that. But I again, like to echo what we said, like he's a new quarterback who has been around for a while. You just kind of don't know what he can do. And obviously the next topic.
So Brady, I think everyone, even if you're not a sports fan, knows Tom Brady, that he retired last year, 16 days later, 2 weeks.
I can't
something
remember.
Like that.
He sent the tweet that said, I'm back.
Because he didn't win. So everyone was like, oh, because he wants one more win. You know, he made it to the playoffs, but didn't win. But he of course won his game this week. He was pissed because they didn't probably win it the way he had some tough plays and stuff. So that didn't go as he planned.
Well, because Tom expects to win every game.
Yes.
Which makes him, I guess, the greatest, as everyone, not me, says. But I do, and I want to preface this again. I said it earlier. I will never deny Tom Brady's greatness. I will never deny his talent. I think his accolades speak for themselves. However, I think that Tom Brady is a media hog. I think he likes all the attention on him. I think I wrote a piece about it, about his return, and I feel like he announced like his win. Like I think he announced his retirement the week that like Joe was going to he announced his return the week that the MLB draft ended. So I just feel like he's always finding ways to just remain relevant. And I just feel like that means he's insecure, but we can talk about therapy later. And I just think that he just always has to be in the media. So a couple of weeks ago during training camp, Tom was missing. And
for 11 days, I think
it was 11 days. And they were like, he discussed this with us. It's fine. Because, great PR.
But Tom doesn't miss training camp.
Tom doesn't miss. He doesn't. And like, how many years has he been playing? He's what, 40?
This is his 22nd season?
Yes. Like he's been playing. I don't think he's ever missed a training camp. And so everyone thought that was interesting. And then word got out that Giselle, his supermodel wife, had left the home. and I think this is going to be a great time for women to jump into football, because I feel like every woman knows that there's a reason why she probably left. And it should be said that Giselle was ready for Tom to retire. Yes. And Tom did not retire. And I just think, I'm with Giselle on this, and I never thought I would, because my thing is, okay, Tom Brady to me is like the 24-year-old or 25-year-old college senior who is still partying at 2 a.m.
Because you're the man on campus.
You need to go home. Like, I understand that you're maybe nervous about this next life chapter and the world coming at you, man, but it's time to go home. Like, you have a supermodel wife waiting for you at home.
But he has, like, his kids are still young enough to where he can still hit a lot of their,
Yes. Why are you not going
points in life? But, because football, you're gone from July to February, if you make it all the way, which he has made most of his career.
He does, yes.
So that's not a lot of time. And so
and
they probably talked about it last season, like
they did. That's a conversation. They sit down at their like marble.
So like, she's ready for like, we're gonna do this. You're gonna help with school, and you're gonna do. We're gonna go here, and think of what the kids thought was gonna happen. Like, Dad's gonna come to my games.
And I think it's like, I just think, So, and and then again, I'm not bringing football into this, but it's a sports podcast, so it's not even fun to watch Tom Brady anymore. Like,
No,
I'm not gonna lie,
you know,
he's gonna break. Yeah, he breaks all the records because no one else is playing that long.
so
And
now
then, like,
it's good,
again, it was fun to watch when he was like over 40, and it was like, oh, he's the only one. But like, okay, he's been the only one for like 5 years now.
Like, you're
Like,
the
it's
old man
not
playing out there. Yeah.
like,
I
yeah,
get when I come to watch him now, it's like seeing Devin White,
you watch the other people on the team
Leonard,
now.
Leonard Fournette, sorry,
Yeah.
Leonard, Leonard Fournette, like all of those guys get, their shine because they're with the GOAT.
Yes.
But it's like you predict, so you're like, oh, okay,
I just don't think it's fun. And like, I liked it when it was like, and again, I know I like Peyton, but that Peyton and Brady rival, like, because they were equal.
But there's no one like
there's no one to even test him anymore. It's where it's like, this isn't even fun.
Yeah,
like, this isn't even like
up until Drew Brees retired, because then you had both of them, and when
they were like chasing each other, and it was, and I liked it.
They should have left at the same time.
I think so too. And I think he should have left that year. I think, Peyton Manning got to leave on the Super Bowl 50, like, peace out, did my time, I'm out. And I just feel like Tom should have done it. And I understand that, like, his TB12 and whatever, like,
well, and then that's something else that, like you were saying, like, are you scared for the next thing? But he has so many opportunities, like, ready, waiting for him. He has a company, like, I just learned, like, he has something with Michael Strahan when it comes to, like, something with media, I believe. Then he has TV12, that whole thing. He has a job waiting for him in TV.
Just like he needs to go home. He just needs to go home.
You have all of
you have a supermodel waiting for you at home. Like,
yes. So everyone was talking about, they're gonna get a divorce or split or whatever. She left, but I don't think they're gonna get a divorce. I think she's just pissed because, like,
no, anyone, like we said, she runs that household.
But it's like, I think you were prepared to have y'all made plans, and then you just on a whim, like, no, I'm gonna go back. And so now we have to restructure our whole lives back to football when she was prepared. So, but she, in an Elle interview for Elle magazine, they did quote her in saying that this is what she said towards the whole situation with Brady coming back. Obviously, I have my concerns. This is a very violent sport, and I have my children, and I would like him to be more present. I have definitely had those conversations with him over and over again. But ultimately, I feel that everybody has to make a decision that works for them. He needs to follow his joy too. So I think she, is understanding with him coming back, but I think that is frustrating.
As someone who studied PR, I think that is such a PR move.
I think at the end of the day, she's like, okay,
I think she has to do what she has to do. Right. But I do think
that she's still going to be pissed.
I think she's running this, because we talked about this before we filmed. Like, this is the first time that he is announced, like, before the even season, like the beginning of the season, this is it. Because normally it'd be like, oh, is this it? Oh, is this it? Like, there'd be like speculation, but there was never actually a comment. And I feel like she is like, you're going to go on record and you're going to have 9 months.
If this is not it, then there will be a divorce. And I would hate to see that, because they made it through this 22 years of his career in the NFL.
Well, they weren't together the whole time, because there's a lot of drama with that.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
But they still made it through a majority of his NFL career, and there was no drama as well. I didn't follow Tom like that, so I don't know all the drama, but there was nothing like cheating to my knowledge.
No.
That has come out.
No, he's never cheated. I think he and Bridget Monahan had broken up, and then I think he had started dating Giselle, and then she discovered she was pregnant. So I think it was always the three of them raising Jack.
But
kind of situation. It was never like behind backs or anything.
Yeah,
but I still think
dating before. But you didn't get, like, they've had a pretty
I think they've had a pretty stable. And again, talk about female power. I know that she at one point made more money than him, and I think that, again, I would just say Giselle is running that, and I think that I think she's mad, and I do think it's going to be interesting. But now, because he's done the left and come back, you're just like, is it real? Like, it's like the boy who cried wolf. Like, are we going to read in March that you're back? Like,
but I just
think, like, bro, go be with your kids. Like, go graduate.
No, I think after this, it's going to be last. He gets his farewell tour
Which I
he's
really
saying,
hope.
yeah, he's saying for sure now. I think last year we still, like you said, it was still unsure if he would, but people are like, oh, if he wins the Super Bowl, he will. If not, he'll come back, which obviously he did. But
I also feel like it's changing. Like, I don't know. I think but that might be a fun thing to watch because I think the NFC is changing. Like, I think look at what the Rams did last year. Like, we never thought they were going to make it. So I think again, he should have gone.
I think it's his last year. I think he may, like you said, he's a media lover. He wants the attention.
Yeah, he wants the attention.
So I think he may like tease us, but I think in the end, this is his last go around.
Yeah.
But then coming over to Texas, to the South, Dak Prescott was like, this was the first year that he had been through all of training camp. In this game, like, it was already said that they lost because he was saying like he wanted to beat Brady before Brady retired, because that was somebody like, because he was an Eli Manning fan, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So it was something that he wanted to do, but of course he didn't do that. But he also hurt himself. I think it was his thumb. So
yeah, it is his thumb. But I just feel like, I just think that's such an interesting franchise to watch. Like, I think because of our age, we got to see like the Troy Aikman, like Dallas dynasty, and like
they're America's team.
They were. And it's just with Tony Romo, and they like, and again, like Jerry Jones has a hold on this league I have no comparison to, and they just keep. I saw it tweeted. I think SportsCenter tweeted that Dallas was the only team without a touchdown in week 1.
Yes, I did see that.
And I am like,
I wanted to know. They didn't have a touchdown.
They have a single touchdown. And it's just, and didn't he have like a moment where he was holding out for more money? Like, I just feel like this is just,
I mean, but he's always been hurt too. So like,
exactly. So I'm always just like, or maybe it was
and this was the first camp that they were saying like he had been healthy, like he was able to attend all of the camps.
I just am scared he's going to be
ready to go,
and I'm scared he's going to be the Andrew Luck of Dallas. Like, I think like, and Andrew really tried, and Andrew left because of mental health reasons, which I really respect him for.
Yeah,
but like he like just kept getting hurt, and he kept getting like, and it's just like, at what point like does this become worth it anymore? Like, I just feel like
hopefully he has a strong, because to be hurt again, I mean, that sucks, but you remember like his brother committed suicide, so he's like dealt with some mental stuff too. Dax has dealt with that too, and having to go through that because his brother obviously went through some mental stuff and ended up taking his life.
He takes care of himself, because I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, again, Dallas isn't my favorite fan base because I was a New York Giants fan with Eli, but I think it's going to be interesting to watch.
I was a Dallas fan when but I was a Deion Sanders fan, so I'll go with that.
Everyone liked him in the 90s, like you can't not like Deion. Like,
so another great quarterback, but that was a little pissed on the side, and he has spent, I guess, the off season and before training camp like really meditating and taking some kind of medicine. I cannot say, it starts with an A, but it's some herbal stuff that he was talking with Aaron Andrews about before that game. So it's supposed to be, he's calm and centered, but they lost.
Aaron Rodgers, he looked pissed, so mad
on the side.
Because, well, I think I don't know, I don't want to say in his defense because they've had all season, but and he's lost some people
Devontae
Adams. And there was all speculation
who went to the Raiders, so I'm happy.
So you're not mad.
Yeah.
But I am like, again, I feel like Aaron Rodgers has such an interesting like feel of the league, in my opinion, because I just feel like he has this, like, I feel like he can't do anything wrong, like any wrong, even though he's kind of like a weird person in real life. Like, again, do you remember like he was immunized and they were like,
but he wasn't
vaccinated? Like, what? And he's like, I'm immunized. And it was like,
he did want to be vaccinated, lied about that.
Yeah. Like, just his, and then like just
he was
I feel like he's
engaged
probably
to,
really weird in life. I feel like
yeah.
again,
Well, I mean, he's been showing up like Nicolas Cage from
yes,
Con
like
Air, like his whole
yeah.
attire.
But then like I feel like he'd be the one, he's like, this is all part of the plan. This is all like planned. And it's
Well,
like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But I no, so I think I'm nervous to see, because again, he's not as old as Tom Brady, but I'm curious to see because he's one of the older ones. He's one of the like of the spectrum.
Yeah.
He's kind of
But they're
on the
going
other
through
end.
some changes too. Like they lost Devontae Adams, and then like one of their receiver, I can't think of who it was, but missed that catch where it was like
Yeah.
in his hands and he dropped it. And so
Yeah.
like,
Well, then because
now
that was
it's
the whole
like,
thing, because he needed to
why
find
didn't y'all
his new
work with him?
targets. He needed to
Yeah.
find this new chemistry, and that's what a lot of people were watching during training camp.
And he was
And
missing.
yeah.
Oh no, he came in July, I think. So,
Yeah.
but they were like, why haven't they made that chemistry now with his
But
receivers?
I still, not that I live on Old Drama, but I've like still been curious about him and the coach. Because do you remember like when they drafted they drafted the quarterback in the last couple of
quarterback first
drafts,
round. Yeah.
and they were like, okay.
And that's when he got mad and they were thinking he was
yeah,
going to get
and
traded.
they didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he was like, I'm here, yo, what's up? And again, I just think he's very unpredictable, but like he's the MVP winner. Like he just shows up when he can't.
Yeah.
Like I think he's so sporadic that I can't ever really, but he's fascinating. Like I will always,
Yeah.
I'm sure
No,
he's
it
a
was
jerk.
funny. It was fun watching his face. It was like, oh, every time he came in, it was like, oh, he's pissed. Like,
yeah. And then, but I'm really excited because we've been giving shout outs to all the Tigers. Former LSU player Justin Jefferson put up amazing
I wish he was on my
numbers.
team.
And he, like at one point, I don't know if it was at the ends of the game or what, but he had more guards than the Packers as a whole. So I think that is a
really
great tribute. Roger said he was the player of the game, was Justin Jefferson. So that's really, you like to see it because again, that's like they're not really a team that the Vikings just really don't have a lot going for them, if we're going to be honest. And so to see them put up those, again, the future is football, and the future is young. So I'm
Speaking of
excited
Tigers,
about that.
Jamar Chase did great too with Joey. But he did, like, for fantasy wise, he has some good point. You know, he had a lot of points, but
I can't even, like, we can't even talk bad about him because we just know that we're never going to see that Joe again. Like, I just know, like, it's like, oh, it's a fluke. It's
Joe
like that
Cool
game
is going to come back.
Yeah. Joe Shiesty, he'll be back.
Totally different next game.
Yes.
So, yeah. So let's go into some sports tidbits. That was our, let me see, Joey. Okay, yeah. Some sport tidbits from around the sports world. So outside of football, we have some, I don't know if we have some football in there, but you said you were getting into tennis.
Yes.
Serena Williams retired officially, but then she said she might do a Tom Brady. She said,
okay, can we all just acknowledge that Michael Jordan did it first? I just feel like it should be a Tom Brady. It needs to be the Michael Jordan.
You're right.
Because I just feel, because again, Tom is a attention whore, and I think that it needs to be, remember who did it first.
Yes.
But yeah, I do. It was funny because I literally, because it was sports history, and I was like, I have to watch this.
Watch it, yes.
So I do pay $5 a month for ESPN2. So sometimes I get special broadcasts for free. Well, not for free, but and I was watching Serena's match, and I was literally Googling like tennis terms because I was like, what is a deuce? How many sets are in this? What are blah blah blah. So like I felt pretty knowledgeable at the end of the thing, but I was so emotional to see
that
like,
last
second set, like that second, is it called a set? And that's like
that was like 30 minutes
was
of
a
just
beast.
Yeah, that was 30 minutes of that other girl. I can't think of her name, sorry, but of her trying to get her winning point.
Yes, but like that was like where it was great to just like
because she didn't give up.
She didn't go out with a fight. Like that's where I was like, this woman is like, and again, like I think she just changes how you look at athletes, and it doesn't have to be a man. You don't have to be like, she just went there and she like she fought until her like to the end.
Yeah.
And she had literally like I loved going on Twitter because people were talking about how like in bars, everyone was just watching a tennis match because they were watching Serena. And like it was a thing that literally united the like and that's what I love about sports because it just like unites people. But like something like that, like she like a sport that nobody, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've watched.
The tickets went up for US Open because she announced like right before she was playing that she was retiring.
Yeah.
And so then the tickets, like people that bought the tickets before were good, but if you bought one after, like prices went up. Like those things were packed, but
and I get it because it was
amazing
history.
To see. I mean, even like her speech after,
until she
like,
shut up,
seeing her daughter there. Yeah. Oh,
I thought. And again, I have a sister.
And then Venus and Serena did play doubles, and that was going to be the last time that they were playing doubles. They did lose.
A lot of people speculated if she should have done it because they thought that she needed to rest before. But I'm really glad she did it because I do think the world needed to. But like she said,
she has nothing else to prove. And you can tell, like she went out there just having fun because there was nothing to prove. And so it was probably like
the last time playing with her sister. She just,
So I enjoyed watching that. But so if people saw, well, Disney said she's going to do something special. She's going to Disneyland like every champ does. But then she was also, I think it's the Vogue show.
She looked amazing at Vogue. She looked amazing.
So the Vogue show. Yeah. I'm not a fashion person, but I know it's Fashion Week. And I saw that Serena was
They did a really good show called like Vogue World, and it had everyone. And she, I think, led it. She looked amazing.
Yes, she did.
For the readers, I work part-time in fashion, so I will always have a fashion tidbit about this. But yeah, I'm excited.
I'll write it, but I'm like, you explain it. I am not a fashion person. But I know she was at fashion. It was like Fashion Week, or it is Fashion Week.
It's Fashion Week in New York.
So Lamar Jackson, so back to a little bit of football, but Lamar Jackson, who is Ravens quarterback,
what are they doing? Why are they not signing his contract?
So they missed the deadline. I don't know if he gave it or the leagues gave it. I don't know for sure, but the deadline was Friday. It didn't get signed, so now he's focused on football. He's not going to worry about his contract, but he'll free agent next year. But whatever happens with that, he just did a trade application for Lamar Jackson Entertainment. So he's setting himself up to have a film and music production studio. He also has like 11 trademarks pending for clothing, footwear, athletic bags, books, restaurant service, and more. So maybe that's why he's not too sweating this.
Well, I was like wondering where he would go. Where do you think he'd go?
Out,
I
don't know.
Like wondering what would happen. Again, we'd have to look at everybody's contracts expiring this year, but
who's expiring, and then how this season goes. Like, maybe he'll be at the Panthers. Like they'll just be like, let's get.
Or maybe Dallas. Who knows what's going to happen with Dak? You know.
Yeah, and that's the only team that Dax is the only one out of his recruiting class coming in. I think he's the only one that has been with the same team. So
I like that I like when people stay with their team. Yeah, maybe I'm just a really sucker for that.
Kobe Bryant did it with the Lakers.
I loved it. I like Larry Bird did it with the Celtics. Like I just like the ones. I mean, Peyton wanted to stay in Indy, but they had to change, and he went on with the Broncos. Eli stayed with the Giants, despite the whole Chargers Giants thing in the beginning. Like I like the ones who just stay. Like Tony Romo stayed with Dallas the whole time. I feel like people.
I don't know. It's just a connection.
I think cities make a difference too. Yeah, but we'll see.
So Stephen Curry, I love the Currys, but he was on the cover of the October issue, or he will be on the cover of the October issue of Rolling Stones. It's the first time that an athlete has been on since 2016 when Kevin Durant, they played together.
Sorry. Kevin Durant's on my whining list. I feel like he whines about a lot of things.
So he may, who knows if he's, basketball starts in October, so we're getting ready for. I love this time of the year. Not only that it's fall, pumpkin, everything. Football is back, but
it overlaps everything because it's baseball.
Yes, it's
basketball,
everything exciting, which
football,
probably isn't a
everything
good thing
happens.
when it's like everything's busy in the world, like for your
I can't
self-work and
wait
stuff. And
for,
then,
yeah. Can't
but
wait for
yeah, we
that
got
podcast that's going to come
basketball.
out whenever we have all the sports to talk about.
Yes. So we got basketball coming up. And so he graced that cover. And other athletes that have been on Rolling Stone were Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaq, Dennis Rodman, The Rock, and Des Bryant. So he's joining that crew.
He dropped some information that, so Kevin Durant is now with Brooklyn, and he and Steve Nash aren't really vibing. And so the thing is, if you don't know about Kevin Durant seems to be the one who chases the championship, which
he has one.
He's not the only one, and he's not the only one that does it. So it's not like I'm coming for Kevin. A lot of NBA players really just go where the championship is. And so Kevin, I believe he followed James Harden, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna be great. And they weren't great. And so he came out this summer that he was basically like, it's me or Steve Nash. And plot twist, both of them are staying. So it shows you how well that went over. But Steph mentioned that that Golden State mentioned we're trying to get KD this offseason, which I think that's where he won, right? That's where, which would have been interesting to see if he would go back, but I guess Brooklyn had a big hold on him. Those lawyers were like, nope. I think I'm excited for NBA because Luka's been doing. I'm a big Dallas Mavs fan. I follow them. I love Dirk, so I watch. Luka's been killing it in this offseason in Slovenia. I think last night or the night before he put up like 50 something points, which makes me really excited because I don't know. He did so well. I'm going to go on my pedestal. I think he did so well this postseason. I do know that the Warriors made him work for it, but I do believe that he owns Devin Booker, and that's all that matters to me. I'm excited. I'm excited. It's the best time of year, in my opinion. So
so coaches, college football. I love college football. I don't know if you're a big college football.
I am. I mean, I'm biased, but I
am. But one of the highest paid coaches now is Dabo Sweeney, who coaches Clemson. He signed a $115 million contract for 10 years. So he's second to Nick Saban. You know, Nick is the GOAT of college football.
He's earned it.
Yeah. So
I think that's a good discussion if he and Bear.
Which Dabo did beat Nick to win the championship, wasn't it?
They also lost us. So
yeah. So good for him. It's crazy to see that. It's crazy to see that college coaches make it that much, but now I guess it's a little bit better now that we have the NIL, where college football players can now get, or college athletes can now get paid for their name, likeness, their name, image, and likeness. So I know a controversy back then was coaches getting paid this much, but the guys were, playing and all of this stuff, but not getting any money for it outside of their scholarship. But the scholarship only paid so much, and you got to live too. But now it went to the extreme. Some of these guys are making $600,000 just off of these deals. So, and then in the NBA, they're still in their playoff time, I believe. I don't think there's been. I think that's still going. Yeah. That's one sport I want to get more into and tune into. But they're going to Canada in 2023. They announced that some of their preseason exhibition games will be in Canada next year. So that's pretty cool to take it that way. Also, some bad news, I would say. I like to only tell the good, positive stuff within sports and with our guys. But the Suns owner, Robert Sarver, I guess is how you say it, was suspended today for a year and fined $10 million for an investigation into allegations of racism.
That was the Phoenix Suns?
Yes, the Phoenix
Oh.
Suns. So that kind of goes back. I used to work for the Clippers as an intern, and so when not when Sterling got his whole issue, but that just made me think of that.
Yeah,
And so
probably brought you
we've had
back. Yeah.
some coaches that have said some racist stuff, and one of my coaches in football, Chucky, John Gruden, I liked him,
Yeah,
but
that's a mess. I
yeah.
just think that there are
So
times where, like, as a PR, like I studied PR in college, and I just
yeah.
think like they have to, like, there are just times where it's like,
No,
gosh,
you got to
shut
just cut
your
ties.
mouth, man. And like, just, it's not that hard,
Yeah.
but
And you have to cut ties.
yeah.
So yeah, so I am not that big. I follow some of golf, but Meredith's going to tell us some of this golf drama. I've seen
Yes.
pieces of it, but
Yes. So I have played golf on and off for like the last 5 years. I was learning, and then like I would stop, and then I pick it up again and I stop. But this is the year that I was like, I'm going back. And so I've been practicing every weekend if I'm in town. And so I started like researching like I half my Instagram feed is like this girl who like gives workouts, like how to like open your hip flexor and everything like that. So I just keep up with like golf news. And what a time to be a golf fan, because there's big jumping down for everyone, even myself. There is the PGA Tour, which is like the PGA League, which is like the NFL of golf, the NBA of golf. Like there's never been, like, could you imagine if someone else was like, we're going to start a basketball league and it's going to rival the NBA? Like no one could do it because there's just so much money in it. And there's just like, no, like I remember like what they do with the NFL, like the X League, whatever Johnny Manziel went, like, like you can have all these other leagues, but they're never going to battle like to this.
It's not going to be on the same level or
Well, LIV has done just that with the PGA, and they are they're like, and I'm telling you, when they have money, like millions of dollars of contracts to people. Like Phil Mickelson has gone. Well, Phil needed to go because Phil said some things that were not the best PR. And what a time, because like PGA people were dropping them, and LIV just swooped in and they're like, you can come play with us. And so he is like the face of the LIV. They're just taking people. They most recently got Cameron Smith. He says he's not doing it.
I think one thing to note is, where is it? LIV is like something with the Middle East.
Yeah, so they're basically like, that's like money coming from the Middle East. It's more European, I guess, like in a way. There's a lot of Australia, like Cameron Smith. He's Australian, and he is the one of the big names that they just got. And he says it's not about money. He said like, oh, I'll get to spend more time in Australia. And it's like, okay, yeah. Sure. Like we all know the paycheck, and a lot of people are like, yeah. And it's so funny because I just love that. Like some guys, like I met with my financial advisor a couple of weeks ago, and like he has like the master's flags and like things like that. So I started talking to him about it, and like it's so interesting to see, because like people are either like for it or people are absolutely against it. And I'm like, this is fascinating drama, because they're just like, no, I can't believe it. I'm following anyone who joins LIV. And then there's people who are like, yeah, I take it for the money. Like, and I just, again, everyone, like golf is like this rich guy sport. So it's just like these men who are like country club looking, like just, and then it's like better because like, so you have the PGA over here, which is like Scotty Scheffler, who won the Masters, and Roy McIlroy, who are like just the golden boys of the PGA. Tiger's not leaving, like and they compare it to like this is where the history happens. Like you can't compare to this. Like this is just how it's supposed to be. And then you got the LIV, who's like moving quickly. Like they just got like this college senior out of Arizona who like hasn't even graduated yet, and he's just like, peace, go and make some money back. And it's like, and it's kind of unprecedented because you just have never had, like, the PGA is a prestigious league. Like no one could ever, they were untouchable. And all of a sudden they were like, here's some checks and we're going to take it. And like, and there's like lawsuits involved there. Like, I think the PGA is like suing, I think Mickelson is definitely getting some hits. And I mean, they have enough money, it's fine. But like, it's shaking up. I do feel like every morning I do my morning devotional and then I'm like, what's happening? Because I just feel like it's something every time. And like, they'll be in interviews and they'll like make comments about like just snide comments about the people who went to the LIV and the people would be like staying with PGA. Like, it's just a very like ping pong battle.
Yeah.
And I'm rooting for the PGA. I'm not gonna lie, I just feel like there's like history there. And there's this guy, Zalatoris, he won in August and I'm like obsessed with him. And I swear to God, if they touch him, I'm going to be so mad because I'm like, no. And then
don't go over there.
Yes, I'm like, don't. But it's been fascinating. It's been a really fun sport. I never thought I'd be into it. I thought it was kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie. No one's gonna be surprised to hear this, but it took the COVID. During COVID, they had the match, and it was Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson versus Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I'll watch this, and I was like, my ADD self like watched the entire match because I needed to see who won, and I was like, oh, like this is a pretty like cool sport. So I've been kind of hooked since, but it has just as much drama as everything else, and it's just been really fun. And again, it's like something new every day, a lawsuit, a scouting, and it's gonna be very interesting. But
we still need to do our event where we get some ladies out there to golf, because
yes, I have a great trainer.
I think that would be fun. And it, again, business happens on the golf course, so why should it just be guys out there doing this kind of stuff? Yeah,
that was funny because I work in sales, and one of my mentors was basically like, you know what, a lot of people just don't answer you, and he's like, you should just start messaging these people about like their golf game. You should just say like, hey, have you heard about this? Like, it makes you stand out. So it's I think I would tell every woman, learn the basics, because because that's where the decisions are made. That's where the CEOs are.
Just to
they're
have
either
the
at tennis or they're at golf. I'm going to tell you right now.
Right. Just to be in on the conversation. You don't have to know everything, but to know.
And I'm going to tell you right now, very rarely are they good too. So don't even make you go back.
They don't know. They're just watching that ESPN and they're just saying whatever.
They're trying their best to hit it.
Even A. Smith just said or something.
Right. Yeah.
Or Skip Bayless said. So, but it's just knowing to be able to talk in the conversation and be like, oh yeah, I know who Baker Mayfield is, and he was with the Cleveland.
That's all you got.
That's something, you know. So that's what we're hoping to bring to you guys through this podcast, through Sports and Mimosa, online and Instagram. So we hope you guys keep following that. So before we end with what we're looking for this weekend, last thing that's happening.
One more sport that we gotta talk about.
Now, baseball, I will admit, is boring unless you're there when you can have the hot dog and the beer. Until sometimes to watch. But again, this is like the perfect time because basketball is about to start. Football's in the mix of everything, just getting started. And then baseball is getting down to the playoffs and the World Series. And my Dodgers are in it. They were in it. They were out. They were in it. So
this is where it's going to be interesting with Aaron and I, because I am a Houston Astros fan, and you can call us cheaters all you want. Everyone else is doing it, and I will bang the can proudly because everyone was doing it. And I now the Dodgers are Houston. I will do it. Dodgers and Astros are 1 and 2 right now, which are former rivals in the World Series. And I'm excited to see. I just really like the predictions because like right now I'll read the rankings to you. 1 is Dodgers, 2 Astros, 3 Atlanta Braves, 4 New York Mets, 5 St. Louis Cardinals, 6 Tampa Bay Rays, 7 Seattle Mariners, 8 New York Yankees, 9 Toronto Blue Jays, and 10 San Diego Padres.
And so the Dodgers, the Astros, the Atlanta, and the Florida. Didn't they just win? Tampa, they won a World Series within the last.
They might have.
I know those other 3 did. So like
they run in the like last 10. Yeah, I can't remember what year, but yeah, they won. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting because the Braves won last year, who also faced Houston, and then the Dodgers won the year before. I'm just really, obviously we I think it's too early to have debates about the number one and number two. So I think we can find unity and just happy that the New York Yankees are not in the top five, because I
And
hate the New York Yankees. I just do. And I think it's weird, the relationship that they have with the media, because I guess they're like, I guess they want to call them America's team. I don't know. Because like in August, they had their worst record than like since they like started. And then all of a sudden, like Aaron Judge hits, I don't even know how many home runs. And it's like, oh my God, the Yankees. Oh my God, the Yankees. I'm like, you were bashing them like 2 days ago. And I
but
just,
Aaron saved him.
I just feel
He's
like,
bringing them up.
is he though?
No, I
I
have a
just,
couple of Yankee
like,
fans.
who else is it? Like, but who else is on the Yankees? Tell me who else is on the Yankees. No one knows. Exactly. Like, it's all about Aaron Judge.
Nope.
And
Yep. That's the only one I know.
I know. Well, they have Garrett Cole, who they got from Houston, and who they paid a lot of money. And I haven't heard like the greatest. I mean, he's doing well, but and that's the thing about baseball. It's a very like, it's a mental sport, and it's very individually based. Like you can have an off game, and then it sets the whole tone.
Yeah.
And but no, I'm excited because like a lot of people like San Diego Padres, I think it's great because I know that they've been doing a lot of rebuilding. So to see that like come into fruition, I think it's just going to be,
I think it's going to be a fun
I'm kind of excited.
now.
And and to echo Aaron, this is the time to watch baseball, because this is the time that it is the most exciting. Because I'm an Astros fan, they tend to play people on the West Coast, so it means a lot of sleepless nights for me because I just have to stay up to see how it ends.
Yeah. So originally from the West Coast, I miss a lot of my sports team, like USC. All like can't really watch them because they come on, and I'm a early bird, so I go to bed early. So
not in the postseason.
And Lakers, when basketball's like, I miss most of their games because they're not coming on till like 9 o'clock our time. Almost.
I probably should be more disciplined about that, but I am not. But it's a great. Again, sports priorities are always
So I think again we're going to be coming weekly or at least twice a month to bring this stuff, depending on schedules. But we'll definitely have stuff online and with sports tidbits, keeping you guys up with what's going on in our opinions within the writing, the featured stuff on the website. But so what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Well, because we get a special visitor in New Orleans this week.
Yes, and I'm going to be there, so I'm excited.
I'm jealous. Tom Brady comes to NOLA, and Tom is one of the greats, but his record against the Saints has not always been consistent. And I believe last year, a lovely Christmas Eve treat, he broke a tablet out of his frustration. It's one of just the gift that keeps on giving if you ever can find it. But I'm excited to see that, especially because, again, he didn't have the win that he really wanted this year. And then, this past week, and to see if Jameis stays in his groove, I think it could be. And then again, we have a great defense. I think, we have the Honey Badger. We have people I am nervous about. I'm nervous. Devin White's great. So to have him on the other side of a quarterback is nervous. So it's like you want him to do well, but like don't hurt him. So
in my fantasy, Tampa Bay is my defense. They did really well for me this season, this past week, but I'm going to have to trade them out because I cannot be rooting for them through fantasy against the Saints. So I'll be putting in, I think I have the Ravens are coming in, but yeah, it's like you want to see those guys do good, but then the Saints has 2 LSU greats, so
we'll see. I think it's always a show. I do think, like I said, the Saints always perform really well whenever.
And this is the home opener because they were in Atlanta this year.
I never underestimate the Dome. Never underestimate the Dome.
But that's what I'm excited about, since I'm going to that game to see Tyron play. Live and just to see that matchup with Tom Brady.
I also am. I cheered for the Giants for a long time because of Eli, and then Daniel Jones came in, and I kind of. But they got that win this past weekend, and so it's kind of like, oh, are things like finally clicking, or things, or is he finding his groove? And he plays Baker Mayfield this week with the Panthers, and I'm very curious to see how that goes, and not to bring up old habits or old beef. They say their relationship is fine, but I remember when, like, randomly, like in the middle of a GQ like interview, it was about like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, like they were interviewing Baker, and he just like randomly brings up, like, I can't believe the Giants picked Daniel Jones. It's so weird. And like it like, again, it was like out of the blue, and it was like, why did you just like trash this guy? So again, I think he's insecure, and I can again have therapy diagnoses after. But again, I think it's going to be, because it's a different team, and I think and maybe Daniel's finally coming into his own and turning New York around. New York's a hard franchise to play for, so I feel like it would be kind of cool to see it have a winning one again. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go. And I think, again, just talking about like the unpredictable, like Mac Jones playing Trubisky, and I think like a lot of young people are playing each other, that it's going to be fun to watch. So, but I'm really, and it's a noon game, so that Brady versus Winston game is going to be my popcorn.
That's mine. Maybe the only one until Monday that I watch, because I'll be in there depending on how that outcome comes. But that's what I'm most looking forward to this weekend, sports wise. Always college game day on Saturday is my show. That's like my morning cartoons. So I'm always looking forward to that, and seeing some of that on
well, again, this week was a crazy college weekend, because a lot of big names, SEC names, lost, and people who want to be in the SEC lost, and it was just came down to kickers.
Kickers had a tough time this weekend, good or bad. Like, you either were up
Mercury and retrograde. That's what I'm gonna say. Mercury and retrograde.
Well, and that Appalachian State win. Oh my God,
that was crazy.
Like, those people running in the streets, because
that was great though. I loved it.
No, it was great. So again, the underdog. So
yes, and then they were like stuck in A&M. Did you see that? There was like bad weather, so they were like stuck in the airport. It was like great. But,
no, I didn't see that.
Yes, so sucks.
But so I'm looking always for college, all games college. Interested to see LSU. I went to that first game where they played Florida State, and it was just like, okay.
We don't talk about that game.
Yeah. And then last week, Saturday, they played, for those that aren't in Baton Rouge, they played Southern University. So that was something big for our city, for the city of Baton Rouge, for the South, but for the city of Baton Rouge, because Southern is an historically Black college. And the two are 11 miles apart. One's in South Baton Rouge, one's in North Baton Rouge. They've never played each other. LSU has played every other school in the state of Louisiana, whether they were, and no other school is on their level as far as conference or anything like that. But they had not played them or Grambling, but they will play Grambling next year. Grambling's another HBCU. That's who Southern plays in the Bayou Classic. But it was bigger just because Southern and LSU are literally in the same town, and have never played each other. So it was a weekend of unity. I'm glad. Of course, it was a blowout game, which people knew that it was going to be, but Southern did score on them, so that was great. But then there was no issues. That really was a weekend of unity. The bands came together, two different bands. So, LSU fans that have never seen Southern band got to see that. And then the same for some Southern fans that have never been in Tiger Stadium, went to Tiger Stadium and got to witness a game in there, because I've been to a game in Tiger Stadium, and that really is like next level, like the sound. Magical. Yes. People said it was loud.
Season tickets. Yeah.
Yes.
It's my favorite feeling.
It really is nice. I've only been to one game. I have been in there for other stuff, but like really a good matchup where it was like packed, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is loud. Like, so
amazing.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what they're going to do now, because now they're playing a SEC matchup. So they have a new coach with Brian Kelly. So I think they're still getting it together. So that'll be interesting to see. So that's what I am looking forward to. But I think this was great. I loved talking with you about
Yes, it's always
sports.
fun.
And we hope that it was informational for those that are going to be watching, that you learned something from it. I know we went on a lot of stuff, but you got the
Tell where we're
tidbits.
passionate. You can
Yeah.
definitely tell where we
But
know
you got the
our
tidbits. You have something
Yes.
that you can go off of if you're talking to someone when they're talking about any of these things. And everything we mentioned is what is being blasted on ESPN. So trust, if your boo watches ESPN and is a sports fan, you're going to be able to tap into that conversation, surprise them. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Meredith, for joining me. And I'm excited about this full season of sports that we're about to get, especially this next couple of months.
Yes, it's the most magical, wonderful, magical time of the year. And
Yes.
if you all want to follow us, I'm sure you're getting this link because you follow at least one of us. I am at Meredith_Laborde on Instagram, or at Meredith Lee 18 on Twitter. Feel free to message us if you liked it, or if you want us to cover one thing more, if you want us to cover one thing less. Yeah, we're happy to suggestions. Again, we're figuring this out, but we're happy to be here, and we are always looking for people to grow in our community.
Yes, so please join us. Yes, like she said, we're growing. We just jumped in it because this was the perfect time to talk, because there's some good football this weekend.
So much spice.
Yes. So again, thank you. Join us, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Sports and Mimosas only on Instagram, but you can follow us both on Twitter. What Meredith said, to tell us anything about that you liked, or what you would like to see. So we will see you guys next week. And thank you for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.